Here we go. 9:12 a.m. Eastern. Adam Schefter reports that according to a source, safety Trey Boston is visiting the Colts today. 10:08 a.m. The United States Supreme Court voted 7-2 to strike down a federal ban on sports betting in most states. Much more on this coming up. 11 a.m. Much maligned offensive tackle Ereck Flowers is reported to the Giants for the first time this offseason. Flowers had been shopped around by the team before the draft. And then 11:41 a.m. 34-year-old DeAngelo Hall said he is retiring from the National Football League after 14 seasons with the Falcons, Raiders, and Redskins. He had 43 career interceptions. Welcome in now to NFL Live. Jack Collinsworth, Dan Graziano, Field Yates, and three-time Super Bowl champion Darren Woodson. We're going to get
ring to it. Yeah, I like that.
It's a heck of a crew. It's a heck of a crew. You know what I'm saying? Three-time champ. Of course, you guys know Wood. Adrian Peterson news to go along with what we have happening in the sports betting world. AP, the experiment in New Orleans last season, we'll call it short-lived, but the suspension of Mark Ingram, the Saints are now thin at running back. And so they are looking. Coach Sean Payton is asked now about the reunion again with Adrian Peterson. Here's what he had to say. Absolutely, this gets back to the notion that we had some type of any argument at Minnesota, which I still say there was none. I think a ton of them. If all of a sudden we decide, hey, we're going to look at additional players that are on the street, and certainly his name, there would be a few others. We have them on the board right now. Who's available? Veteran running back stacked on the board and graded, but listen, he is a tough player, a warrior, and a great worker, and we have a good relationship. Well, in 2017, Alvin Kamara ranked just 38th in carries with 102, but ranked first in the NFL in yards per rush at 6.1 and had 8 touchdowns. Saints backfield, you look through Edmonds, it's the brother of Tremaine. It's Trey Edmonds, brother of Tremaine and Terrell. Daniel Lasco, Boston Scott, Jonathan Williams. Doesn't look to be a whole lot for the New Orleans Saints in the backfield. So we'll start with you guys. What is the likelihood that AP would become a New Orleans Saint again?
My understanding as of late last week was that it was unlikely. Right now, the Saints are of the mind that they're not looking at veteran running backs. The quote from Sean Payton indicates that they believe there will always be veteran running backs out there for them if they decide they need one. But that list you're talking about, especially Boston Scott, who they just drafted, guys they want to get a look at in the offseason. In terms of Peterson specifically, I think Payton's out there trying to say, look, there are no hard feelings with me and Adrian Peterson. I think he just wants that to be the public perception, and he doesn't like what the public perception is right now, so he's kind of pushing back against it. I'd be surprised if there was a Peterson and Saints reunion, but I guess you never say absolutely never.
Yeah, I think part of this is how the question is asked. And this is unsolicited or an unprompted answer about Adrian Peterson out of nowhere, then you might think that maybe there is something in the works here brewing, but keep this in mind. Although publicly, we just found out about the Mark Ingram suspension last week, NFL teams are made aware of player suspensions in advance of the public announcement. If New Orleans had interest in a veteran running back, it might have even been something that bubbled up previous to the announcement or prior to the announcement for Mark Ingram. And this is the time of the year. May is developmental month. This is the time of the year that teams are saying, not only are we going to look into our draft picks, we're going to look into players that have already been in the system, might be in their first full year in the system, like a Jonathan Williams, or might even be saying, you know something, we just found a guy who went undrafted, who might just be the next diamond in the rough that can become a part of our franchise.
Another Alvin Kamara. And that's what they want. The teams right now understand, listen, we want a veteran running back. We can get him at the end of the training camp. And the veteran running back doesn't want to come in before training camp anyway. He wants to get that break. And at the same time, this didn't work out last year in New Orleans. And it was obvious by the way the New Orleans Saints went about their business. They're a team that wants to be, they want the running backs to be versatile, not only in the screen game, but the pass protection, a little bit of everything. Adrian Peterson is a downhill, between the tackles runner. He's not a guy that fits that mold, and I don't see the Saints going back that direction again.
When you see a guy like All Day, AP, get to this point in his career, do you like to see him try to continue to play?
Absolutely.
Or do you want to see him pack it in and save the
And Sean Payton said it in his little script that he's a warrior. This is what he's done his entire life, and he's one of the best at that position as far as running downhill, making people miss, running over guys. This guy is a physical beast when he's out there, and I think he's going to find his way onto someone's team after training camp, but I don't see Adrian Peterson's career being done just yet.
Do the Saints need somebody else? They clearly need to bring in something, right?
They might need somebody else, but they don't need, to Fields' point, they don't need someone else right now. There's no game this week.
Yep.
And if you talk to agents who have older players in the league, it's just a tough time to find guys jobs because there's no upside to a coaching staff in bringing in Adrian Peterson and having be your answer at running back. Whereas if you coach your 6th-round pick into a starring role, oh boy, now you've done something. So I think the Saints could get to a point in July or August where they say, oh, these young guys we have, they can't pick up the blitz. I don't know what we're going to do. We need to bring in a veteran back. But they're not at risk of losing out on that if they don't sign someone today.
You guys know how we do it. It is Monday, means it is Overreaction Monday. The statement is, Adrian Peterson has played his last game in the National Football League. Dan, overreaction or no?
It's not an overreaction, which is not to say that it's a true statement, but it's a possibility, and that's why it's not an overreaction. You know, players will tell you all the time, sometimes you're retired before you realize it. You know, the league does it for you, and that could be the case. And someone like Adrian Peterson who's going to the Hall of Fame, would I bet money, if now that I'm allowed to, on him resuming his career? Probably that's the way up, but it's not crazy to think that he might be done.
I think it's an overreaction.
$5 on that. I'll take a $5 bet.
$5
What do you think?
My window's open here in Connecticut.
I'll take it.
I think it's an overreaction. Here's the reason why. You look at other veteran running backs that are still available right now whose names register on the NFL Fam Richter scale, right? Like, if you follow the NFL, you know who Eddie Lacy is. You know who DeMarco Murray is, for example. Adrian Peterson has tape from last year that was dominant. Now, it was a smaller sample size, but ask the LA Rams whether or not he still has anything left in the tank. There was a time last season where in successive weeks, Adrian Peterson was handling the football close to 40 times per game. Now, it was not in the passing game, as Darren just alluded to. He is a between the tackles, north-south runner. He is singular in terms of his dimensions. But you know something? That one thing he does well, he still does pretty darn well, which is why I think that whether it's in training camp or maybe even after this season has begun, some team says, you know something, we need someone that we can hire and potentially give the football to 15 to 18 times. Not this diverse portfolio of the playbook, but just a couple of things that he does really well. Adrian Peterson fits the bill.
Week 6 last year, he had 134 yards against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 150-some yards against San Francisco last year. So the film is out there. You still see this guy carrying a load. And like you just mentioned, he had over 40-some carries. I mean, this guy is a monster. And you know one thing about Adrian Peterson. He's going to be a professional when he shows up.
He's going to be in shape.
And he's going to be in shape. Those are the two things you know about him, and that's a veteran presence that you need in your locker room. Not before training camp, before you evaluate everyone. You evaluate everyone, but when season starts, you bring in that guy who can be your second or third down running back.
And how much did he suffer, too, from Palmer going down?
Oh, yeah.
Was it Galbert, Stanton? Those were the quarterbacks he's playing behind, so everybody's packing that thing in to go stop the run.
Yeah, it was certainly, I mean, listen, everybody except for Larry Fitzgerald seemed to have their production fall off significantly last year in Arizona. Again, it's going to take the right fit. But last year, when everybody thought that maybe Adrian Peterson's best option was to just say goodbye to football entirely after the 4 games with the Saints, he found new life in Arizona. And I bet there's some team that's going to say, you know something, that might fit for us as well.
Like, does he get that job in Arizona if David Johnson doesn't get hurt?
No, but who say well, a running back won't get hurt all the time?
That's true. So it has to be the right fit. Aren't a lot of teams like Arizona last year that are looking for that one guy to plug in and take the entire load of carries. That's the other thing to look out for. If he does go somewhere, will he be okay with the kind of role that he had, for instance, last year in New Orleans?
That's the part of it you really got it, because Adrian Peterson used to be in the workhorse his entire career. He's been the guy, and he's been the mainstay. I think he has to buy into and accept the role that he's going to play. He will not be the every down player that he wants to be.
We have other free agent running backs that are on the move. We'll probably start with DeMarco Murray. Was released by the Titans after 2 seasons in Tennessee. His carries and production dropped off last year. Problem is, Henry's did not. Alfred Morris had only 3 touchdowns in 2 seasons in Dallas, but did have production in his first couple of years in Washington. Remember, he burst on the scene with a 1,600-yard rookie season. That was back in 2012. And Jamal Charles spent his entire career in the AFC West, but carried the ball only 69 times in 14 games with the Broncos in 2017. He turns 31. Tough birthday for a running back position. Eddie Lacy, up and down career, continued in Seattle. He played only 9 games. He hasn't scored a rushing touchdown since 2015 in a wild card game against Washington. Other news that is cooking today, the U.S. Supreme Court voted 7-2 to strike down on a federal law that prohibited sports gambling in most states. It will now be up to each individual state to decide how this will play out. The NFL released this statement. It's a lengthy one. The NFL's long-standing and unwavering commitment to protecting the integrity of our game remains absolute. Congress has long recognized the potential harms posed by sports betting to the integrity of sports contests and the public confidence in these events. Given that history, we intend to call on Congress again, this time to enact a core regulatory framework for legalized sports betting. We also will work closely with our clubs to ensure that any state efforts that move forward in the meantime protect our fans and the integrity of our game. The Players Association of the four major sports issued a joint statement after the ruling was announced, saying in part, betting on sports may become widely legal, but we cannot allow those who have lobbied the hardest for sports gambling to be the ones controlling how it would be ushered into the business. The athletes must also have a seat at the table to ensure that players' rights and the integrity of our games are protected. Okay, so we have all of that to think about as we go. So Dan, let's start with how the league feels about this ruling. What is it that scares them the most about the legalization of sports betting?
Well, I think what you hear in that statement is integrity of the game, right? So you're worried about, is this going to cause corruption? Our game's going to be at risk of being thrown, point shaving, fixed games, that kind of thing. My understanding is, in Great Britain where this is legal, the English Premier League, et cetera, there are systems in place that identify unusual betting patterns and enable law enforcement to go after, hey, maybe some players on this team are engaged in something because of this odd thing. The FBI has been out there saying legalizing sports gambling is the best way to reduce the risk of match fixing, point shaving, because they're able to track it all. So I can see what the NFL is trying to say. Like, they don't just want it to be the Wild West all of a sudden. Give us some guidance, Congress, in terms of how we regulate this state to state, how we, what kind of rules we impose on our players, our coaches, our officials, what they can and can't do. But it's an indication of what I've believed for the last couple of weeks reporting this story is the NFL's a little behind on this. Where the NBA and Major League Baseball have been out trying to lobby state legislatures and design the laws themselves, the NFL has kind of been sitting back and going, well, this is coming, but we're not entirely sure what to do about it. And I think that's part of the issue here.
For sure. And but they're taking a team to Vegas. The Raiders are moving to Vegas, so they're not naive to the fact by any means. Any surprise by the statement released today?
No major surprise from the NFL about how it wants to approach this going forward. I think that really what the NFL would like is this, and the exact phrasing they used is one thing, but they want it to be that even though it is now up to each state to individually decide on the legality of sports gambling within that state, the NFL wants it to be that all players play by and abide by the same rules. There is the same set of context for each player that they can follow, and so that there is no gray area. You're traded from Kansas City to New Orleans, or you're a guy that gets picked up off of waivers by a new team, or that's just the way the world works in the NFL. I don't think they want to have teams having to make individual decisions about how to handle it with their players on their roster. I think they want a broad set of, sort of laid out specific rules that players understand exactly what is in bounds, what's out of bounds. And let's be honest, they are going to, I'm not surprised the NFL is kind of slow rolling when it comes to, they've resisted, even though they're moving to Vegas, they for a long time resisted the idea of going to Vegas, kind of kept it at arm's length. No surprise that their initial statement sort of reeks of that same, we'll get to it in time, but for now, let's worry about the integrity of the game.
Exactly. You just said it, the integrity of the game, and that's how the NFL is going to approach the players as well. And much like when Colorado legalized marijuana, I mean, the Denver Broncos, not only was it Denver Broncos, but the league sent officials out to say, hey, listen, okay, so it's legalized in Colorado. It doesn't mean you have to adhere to the rules that are in place. And they're going to do the same thing as far as legalized gambling. They're going to go to every single team, all 32 teams, and officials will be out there to inform the players you cannot gamble on games, and it's about the integrity of the game. Listen, will players gamble on other things? Probably so, but that's going to be off limits.
How is the gambling for the players right now? How many players are betting on, whether it's their game, another game?
Go ahead and look at me, Dan.
Yeah. I mean,
I think it's
is this a real problem?
Listen, I think it's easy to gamble when you're gambling for like your college teams. Like a little side bet. It's like an office bet. You do those type of things. But when it comes to gambling in the locker room, we're talking, even discussing gambling on a game. That's just I've never seen it. In my 13 years in the NFL, I've never seen or heard guys talking about gambling on other games or the
own
personal own game. It just does not happen that way. And the league is going to have to reinforce this. They're going to have to send officials out to reinforce this part.
It's all very important, but let's not forget the other piece of this, which is business of the NFL. This is huge.
Yeah.
Yep.
NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, all the sports. I mean, this is the kind of thing that could rekindle interest in the sport in areas where it hasn't been. It could improve TV ratings. If the NFL is able to get a cut of the action, as the NBA and baseball have been trying to do, it could be a profitable thing for the league and its teams. So there are two sides to this. The one that the league has come out publicly on today in terms of integrity of the game, which does matter. That's not lip service to them. But there's also the idea of, hey, how do we, if this is happening, how do we make sure that we get in on it?
Yeah,
as opposed to just sitting back. Are they going to be
football on steroids, right? I
Yes.
mean, so what about for like the individual stadiums? Are they going to be able to put, I'm a Kentucky guy, horse racing, or are you be able to walk in at halftime, take a bathroom break, place a bet? Like, is it going to go that far? How do the teams look at this?
We'll see. I think, again, this is sort of the very first step. But to Dan's point, you're right. Look, I think that if there was a risk of things immediately turning into the wild, wild west, then maybe there would be some significant pushback from the NFL right away. I don't think that, legalizing sports gambling is going to turn everybody around our country into just, a bunch of irresponsible, placing your money where it doesn't belong. At the same time, as Dan just said, this is going to be incredible for the business of sports. Mark Cuban, of course, the Dallas Mavericks owner, has been on television today, I believe it was on CNBC just a couple of hours ago, talking about how he believes that the value of major sports franchises in the 4 major sports across North America could potentially double with this ruling.
Jeez.
I mean, of course owners are going to capitalize on the fact that their businesses have become incredibly more valuable. At the end of the day, you have people that might not have been interested in a game between pick any 2 NFL teams, the Jaguars and the Los Angeles Rams. Now there's a game going on between them, and they might have a vested interest in that game. Ultimately, the owners' pockets, which were exceedingly deep, have now grown even deeper.
Yeah, and it's always about, the owners are about filling seats and getting eyes on the game.
Yep.
This instantly brings eyes on the game, which, like you just said, makes their pockets fatter. The business side of this is going to be coming into effect. They're going to slow pace this thing, and then they'll figure it out. But they're going to make money off of this.
Hopefully we'll keep Paul Crewe in the movies. We'll see. That's going to be a big part of this, too. American Gaming Association estimates, how about this, $150 billion were wagered illegally in America last year. Big business, big business. Coming your way on NFL Live, Andrew Luck's rehab is progressing, but it is moving along fast. Is it fast enough, though, for him to be ready for Week 1? And we'll get the latest on the Colts quarterback coming your way shortly. And Tom Brady, 1,000 yards rushing. Is that really his goal in 2018? He said it was. We will play you also the season's top 10 plays. That is from last year. We'll do all that. We're just getting started. NFL Live. Practice in November. However, the Houston Texans are planning for Watson to be ready for the start of training camp. Here is what head coach Bill O'Brien had to say.
He has a phrase himself that he talks about, which is trying to get 1% better every single day. And I think that's the philosophy that he brings into the locker room. He's got a real good way about him. Fun guy to coach. Look forward to meeting with him every day and working with him on the field. And he's doing a good job in his rehab. I think he's on schedule to be able to participate in training camp, and we're excited about that. And we've had a good 4-week session with him here in the off-season program, looking to continue that and finish off the off-season in a good way.
All right, so if Watson was ready for Week 1, how surprising would that news be, Dan?
Not surprising. Talking to people with that team at the Combine in February, they were saying, look, we've been told by our medical people he should be able to maybe do some things in OTAs and be ready to start training camp. So that's been the expectation. Deshaun Watson torn ACL in early November. It's the second time he's torn an ACL, different legs, so he knows the rehab procedure. And also, when you compare it to, say, Carson Wentz, who also had an LCL injury in the same leg, he tore the ACL a month later, less damage. So I think Watson for training camp and Week 1 is realistic in Houston.
In other quarterback news, we'll get you caught up on what's happening with Andrew Luck right now. The Colts are hoping to get him back by the start of camp as well. Luck's still rehabbing his throwing shoulder. That's from surgery he had in January 2017 on a torn labrum. And, of course, his right arm. He has still not thrown a regular-sized football, but the Colts remain optimistic Here's what their head coach, Frank Reich, had to say.
It's been great. I mean, everything's been really, really good. And Andrew's, on the field stuff that we're doing, just footwork stuff and in the classroom stuff, it's great. I mean, he's completely engaged. It's obviously, fun to work with a guy who has his football IQ, where we can go back and forth on the offense and the system. Everything from the physical standpoint of what he's doing off the field is going exceedingly well.
Is he doing any further football stuff yet?
No, just continuing with the same process and staying patient, and it's going very well.
All right, so we'll give you guys a little insider trading, give you guys a little information before we hit the Overreaction Monday. This one says, Andrew Luck will not start Week 1. Dan, we'll start with you. Overreaction or not an overreaction?
It's not an overreaction because we heard this same stuff last year from a different head coach, I grant you that, but same kind of stuff. How well he was doing in the classroom, his rehab was going well, we think he'll be ready for training camp, still not throwing, but it's okay. Until we see him on the field, how can we believe it? And there's no offense to Frank Reich. I don't think Frank Reich is lying. I think this is what he believes. But with regard to Andrew Luck, who missed the entire season last year after we were told throughout this portion of the offseason that he would play, we have to see it before we believe it.
We're about 100 or so days from the start of the regular season. Feels like it's kind of getting close. But it's still sort of far away, right? It's been 500 days since Andrew Luck threw a football. 500. So it's not an overreaction. Not only does he have to get back to throwing a football, he's got to get back to doing it with velocity, with accuracy, with precision, all the things that are going to be in
confidence.
Not an overreaction. Exactly. In confidence. He's got to get back on the field. I know he's been playing all his life, but at the same time, he's got to have confidence not only in his abilities, but in his arm, his offensive line. He's going to get hit every once in a while. I think the thing about Andrew Luck is he hasn't thrown the ball since December of 2016. That's a long time, especially as a leader. And the guys at the point, at that quarterback position, you need to get out there, and the guys need to follow you.
Yep.
And he's got to start all over again in my process.
Yep.
New head coach he's going to have coming back, new staff, a new guard, too. That might help his cause in Quentin Nelson. So when we come back, we're going to do the top 10 games. We're counting them down, baby. Top 10 of 2017. We will start with number 10, game of the year, when we come back. All week long here on NFL Live, we are looking back at the top 10 games from last season. But before we get to the countdown, here are some what we are calling honorable mention names on the list. The Patriots nipped the Texans Week 3. Tom Brady hit Brandon Cooks for a 25-yard touchdown with 23 seconds left. Give New England the 36-33 win. It was one of 5 touchdowns for Brady on the day. Also in Week 3, the Giants visited the Eagles. Jake Elliott hit 2 field goals in the final minutes of the game, including the game winner, a 61-yarder as time expired. That's got some distance. Eagles won 27-24. Little 9-game win streak would follow. Fast forward to Week 10 when the Jaguars and the Chargers hooked up. Josh Lambo knotted the game at 17 with 3 seconds left in regulation, then won it with a 30-yard field goal in overtime, giving the Jags their 3rd straight win. A week later, the Redskins visited New Orleans. The Saints overcame a 15-point deficit with under 3 minutes to play, thanks to 2 touchdown passes from Drew Brees, and Alvin Kamara converted the 2-point conversion on a second TD, and the Saints won the game in overtime. Vikings and Panthers Week 14 saw Minnesota come back from an 11-point fourth quarter deficit to tie the game, but Jonathan Stewart won on a 1-yard touchdown with under 2 minutes to play to give the Panthers a 31-24 win. That same week, the Eagles and the Rams got together in an offensive showdown, but it would be more known as the game that Carson Wentz got injured and missed the rest of the season. The teams combined for 762 yards and 10 touchdowns in the Eagles' 43-35 win. So now we will get into our top 10. We start off with Green Bay against the Cowboys in Week 5. Anybody, first thoughts come to mind? Do you have a photographic memory?
Nobody wants to watch this.
I was going to say, what are we doing today here?
No one wants to watch this.
Pretty cold-blooded.
Yeah, this was pre-Aaron Rodgers' injury. This is when I still believe the Packers were the team to beat in the NFL.
Yes. Let's look at the game. Here we go. Little 7-0 Cowboys lead to kick things off. We have A-Rod here, and you're about to watch him get hot. First touchdown for Devontae Adams.
Is it a good throw?
A dime.
Is that hard to defend?
That's like a point guard. I mean, that's like CP3 right there.
Look at it. Oh, my goodness. Bobsledding.
What'd you give him on that? 1 to 10?
That's 7. That's a solid 7. I don't know. It's not much originality there.
Missed
Old
that
Dak
point. Yep.
scrambling away, gets loose. Scramble, 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 and Dak does what Dak does. Gets it down there to Smith at the 7-yard line.
Smith,
Ron Smith.
it's your
That's-
vertical threat in the passing
Yeah,
game.
what's he doing? Well, the play broke down, so
He got good hands now.
Right? Yeah.
Good hands.
And watch how Dak finishes this thing off. Looking left, coming back right,
that's
and Beasley.
Hey, knowing you got man-to-man.
I still think Dak's going to be all right.
By the way, shout out to Cole Beasley, future Grammy winner, just a rapping
Oh,
machine
yeah.
these
No
days.
kidding?
There we go, Dak again.
Who's that? Who
Finds
caught
it.
that?
Oh,
That's
well.
the X-Man.
Des Bryant. Where's
the
Des
X-Man.
going? Where's Des going?
I don't
I
know.
don't know.
No good guess.
I think Dad probably wishes he knew where he was going.
Broadcast booth.
Fourth quarter, here comes A-Rod. Little play action, and sinks it to his old homie
Ball
there.
handling
He's not
skills
there.
are
He's not there either, yeah.
This is like a Packers-Cowboys Ring of Honor game here.
Here we go, Dak Prescott over the middle. Pick. Oh,
That is not his.
Now that
fault.
goes
and
on
that's
Dak.
the one that crossed.
Yeah, no, there's no way that goes
Getting that
on
ball
Dak.
into the end zone.
That rule needs to change.
Got to be caught. Oh,
Marius
full
Randall,
flag.
how about Cleveland Brown?
Yeah.
This is not a lot of
The
guys
last
in the
big-
same uniform.
Yeah, that should not be interception at the quarter.
No.
There's got to be a way to give him
Not.
like half an interception for that play. You
Or
know?
Zero. Yeah, one
Or
of the two.
zero, yeah.
One of the two. 28-24,
All right, time to feast. Time
and
to
it's
feast.
time to feast. Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott. And
barely got that over.
No feast.
Not quite
No
eating on
feast.
this.
Starving.
Did he get in? He get to put the ball over on this one, though, didn't he? Yes, he did.
Bam.
Yes, he did.
There it is.
Did he?
Yeah.
What's the call?
Is he
Got
or
it.
not?
Got the first down.
Maybe spot would give it to him. Cowboys first down, 2nd and 1 now. 28-24, Cowboys from behind.
That's a
and Dez can't quite get it. Now 3rd and 1,
Got it.
and it's Dak, baby. Yeah. Escapability. Cowboys back on time.
They got it now, right there.
There you go.
Yeah, that's all.
But you left a little too much time
Key
there.
to any
for A-Rod.
good 2-minute drive is the first play. You got to get some positive yards. Hit Devontae on the back shoulder to start the whole drive. That ultimately sets up the winning pass.
There's what you heard A-Rod had to say. Anytime you leave a minute 13,
Look at this. Martellus Bennett
A-Rod.
making plays.
See, now you got to get
Bennett.
him down.
Yep.
Bennett.
Now, again, look at this. 1 minute to go, 1 timeout. Every player in that Packers offense knows exactly what they need. It's just 3 points to tie the game, but they're thinking 7. They're thinking 7 the whole way.
inside the 50. Now everybody around the line of scrimmage, and they are blocked. Look out.
I can't even watch this.
And he got out of bounds.
Aaron Jones.
Does anybody want to watch
And he
this?
got
It's
out
a
of
huge
bounds.
game here for Aaron Jones. 3rd and 8 now.
Got to have a situation.
This is what the Cowboys wish they had all year long. See the block, got him picked up.
Got him right there.
Escape.
Got him right
Another
there.
escape.
That high step from
A-Rod
Rodgers,
hit him with a
too.
little sauce.
Whatever
1st
it
and
takes.
10. 21 seconds remaining now. We saw Devontae get rolling early in the
This
game.
is filthy.
No, this one
He
that's
says,
incomplete.
oh, that's
Complete.
right, that's
Great
right.
play
No,
by
no.
Lewis
Yeah,
down the corner.
That's a good play.
And then they hit a little conversation after this.
I was going to call another play, but Tay came back and said, call it again. He said, yeah, he just throw, with his eyes, he just said, throw a better ball.
Aaron pointing to the right now. Gets the snap. Looking. Throws left side of the end zone. Leaping grab. Devontae Adams. Yes! Touchdown Green Bay!
That's nice.
Ridiculous.
I'll tell you what.
That was a better ball.
Yes.
What the main reason they were able to let Nelson go? Is that it right there? We looking at it?
Yeah.
That and the $10 million contract, right? Yeah. No,
But,
listen.
changing of the guard there. Devontae Adams taking over the number 1 receiver role for sure.
Look, I think he was that.
Yeah, I think that's what you saw in Devontae Adams, being able to beat one-on-one in a matchup situation. They got to go to him. They got to win in the one-on-one matchup, and he's the guy that creates a lot of separation.
And they drafted a handful of guys this year. Do they have the answers now in building at receiver, talking about Green Bay?
Yeah, I'm not worried about their depth right now amongst pass catchers in Green Bay. I mean, Randall Cobb has become an afterthought, a player that when utilized correctly probably still brings something to the table. They've got a lot of players behind Devontae Adams, but they've been able to draft and develop successfully. That's something that's always been a part of Packers lore. And the bottom line is this, Devontae Adams is a bona fide number 1 wide receiver who got that extension before the season was even over.
Yeah.
It would look like one of the best deals done the entire offseason for any wide receiver. He's that kind of player.
I like any wide receivers that Aaron Rodgers is throwing
Exactly.
to. I think that makes them better. And I think
Yeah.
Devontae Adams is a great player, but That group will be fine.
I know you probably like Equanimeous St. Brown, right? You're Notre Dame boy.
Equanimeous St. Brown might be all right in that offense. Keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that for real, though. Equanimeous St. Brown might be kind of nice.
Quentin
in Green
Nelson,
Bay.
St. Brown.
We'll get to number
Same,
9. Where you at, AP? Watch and learn, Russ. Is the Russ? Which Russ are we talking about there?
Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson.
I think
Okay, Russell Wilson.
That's the way I looked at it.
Coming for you, A-Rod G, which I guess it was like A-Rodgers.
Aaron
Rodgers.
We just talked about him.
Not so easy anymore. Von
Miller.
Miller, yeah, chasing after him, right.
Quarterback sneak on 3rd and 1. I don't know why we did that, but he's got a lot of hashtags. There we go. We're playing a little Patriots over/under now. First question will go to you, Wood. Do they get the 32 rush yards needed for Brady to hit the 1,000-yard mark?
After looking at that video, absolutely. He's doing it.
Go ahead and write it in.
We're going over. We're going over, and we'll be at probably about that 33, 34-yard mark. He's not going to get much.
That's ambitious now.
But I think he gets there this year.
Okay.
Only been 4 healthy seasons in his career where he didn't get more than 32 rushing yards. So.
Well, this is that season. You saw him working out. He's putting the big boy pads on this year. He's getting those 2 extra yards that he needs to go over this
You know what? He's his own worst enemy, though, because the Patriots win so many games that are decided by a significant margin that they're taking knees at the end of games, and Brady's losing like 3 yards.
Interesting.
You know, end of drive, end of game, he's sitting there taking 3 knees. That can make a difference between 32 and 34 yards.
If you're the coach and
If you're dealing with a number like 32, that can really make a difference.
Yeah.
If you could have any quarterback, any in the league, you're the head coach, take off and run for a first down, would he be number 32? Is that the
Maybe.
last guy you'd want taking off?
Absolutely.
I mean, he's in that conversation with like Eli Manning and
Oh, that's
Rivers.
a good one.
Rivers,
that is
I
a
would
good
not want Rivers running.
Rivers,
Rivers.
Eli. Who wins that race?
Oh, man.
Those 3.
Nobody.
Nobody.
No
Yeah, I was going to say,
None of
nobody.
us.
A strength and conditioning coach who can make any of them faster wins that race.
Still could be Brady. There's no question about that. So now we're to the running backs. Over and under, 1,000 yards for the rookie out of Georgia, Sony Michel. What do you think?
Yeah, I've got this one here, and their first-round pick, number 31 overall, comes from the University of Georgia, an incredible player down the stretch, which is awesome in the college football playoffs last year. And he's a big play waiting to happen. He's going to be impact the passing game as well. But I will go under for Sony Michel. And here's the reason why. A lot of mouths to feed right now in that Patriots backfield. Rex Burkhead's going to be a factor as both a runner and a receiver. James White's going to be a factor when they go up-tempo or when it's 2-minute offense time. And we'll see. We will see what happens. But if Jeremy Hill makes this roster, I'm just telling you there are people around the NFL that still believe Jeremy Hill can be an effective between the tackles back who can finish off drives and games for you. Sony Michel is a massive part of the Patriots' future. And he'll be a really good player for them right away. But 1,000 yards rushing, that's a lot when it's with such a crowded backfield.
Plan to keep all them, you think? To get all those guys involved? Or
Well,
are they going to get rid
Burkhead,
of,
White, and Michel are locks.
Locks.
We'll see whether or not Jeremy Hill, Mike Gillislee, they might be fighting, might be 2 guys fighting for one
Jeremy
roster
Hill
spot
has to
there.
prove something. I mean, as talented as he is, he has to prove something.
Cincy here at the end. Okay, here we go. 10 touchdowns for Rob Gronkowski. Over, under, Dan. Little birthday for him today. Take it easy on him.
Yeah, happy birthday, Gronk. I'm going to say over as
All right.
a birthday present for Gronk. Been a couple of years, but I just think the way this offense is built, with Edelman coming back, Cooks is out of the picture now. I just think the offense is going to be geared, not that it wasn't geared toward Gronkowski last year, but assuming he can stay healthy all year, which I know is a big assumption, I think he goes over. And after the offseason that he and Brady have had in terms of, where there are whispers about retirement, that kind of thing, I think they both come out with tons to prove. Angry about losing the Super Bowl. Patriots are always dangerous after they've lost the Super Bowl right the following year. So I'm going to say over. I think the Patriots.
If he's healthy, I think he goes over. And that's the big if. But if he is and he plays all 16 games, I think he goes over that. I think Gronk is going to be, and I know a lot of question marks about him retiring, but this season I think he's going to want to come back and show who he is as a football player.
29 years old.
What do you think that birthday's like? It's probably pretty fun.
We shared one with Clay Matthews, the third.
You didn't get the invite?
Shared one with Frank Gore.
You didn't get Jack. You didn't get the invite.
Nah.
Stop.
I didn't get the invite.
Can't even.
You
My
didn't?
brain won't even.
What are you talking
go
about?
to where that birthday party is.
Amazing to think that the whole season last year was without Jules, was without Edelman.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a little over-under with Edelman. What are we thinking? What are we going to do here? 100 receptions, over or under? What do you think, Wood?
Well, this is my guy. I'm biased on this. So this is my guy.
Yeah.
He's like my favorite player in the NFL. I'm going to say over. I'm going to say over, and I know he's coming back from the ACL surgery. He's going to have to get back into the groove of things, but Amendola's gone now. Brandon Cooks is gone as well. And the guy that's going to be working the slot is this guy right here, Julian Edelman. You talk about tough, nasty, will hit you in the mouth, and will try to make every catch across the middle. He'll do a little bit of everything to get the ball, and the relationship that he has with the quarterback. Tom Brady and Edelman trust each other. They hang out together. He's going to be asking for the ball. I'm going over. I think he goes over 100 receptions.
Plus, it probably block for him on all those run plays that Brady wants to do now.
Extra.
And help get that 32 big yards.
That's right.
I think it could be
30. He'll go 34.
Nice.
2 yards a game.
No,
Got to
34
average
yards.
2 yards a game.
This one could be over, and it could be over by a decent margin, too. Like, he could be closing in on 110, 115, 120 catches. You certainly know he's going to have a chip on his shoulder because as much as he's proved and accomplished already in his career, to come back from an ACL injury, this would be yet another chapter in a most incredible and remarkable story for a former 7th-round pick. He's a college quarterback.
He's a beast. He's a beast right here is what he is. We're gonna have a little fun with this. So Brady say needs, what, 32 yards to hit 1,000?
Yeah.
So we're going to look back at the greatest quarterback runs, the 6 greatest quarterback runs of 2017. We'll start it off with Russ. You guys feel free to chime in here. Nobody likes it better than when a quarterback takes off. Here goes Russ.
This is the Seahawks' leading rusher last year by a wide margin.
And the extension.
stretching for that.
There's not a better. There is
the extension
no,
right here.
Yeah, no player in the NFL has better spatial awareness than Russell Wilson. No
You're the
first down marker. The
If
goal
you're the
line.
coach, do you want your quarterback reaching over like that with his arm out, his throwing arm out?
Nobody around there.
Come on.
I mean, he was safe there.
Initially ruled down, it would be overturned. Here we go. Dak Prescott going to take off against the Cardinals.
Hey,
Spin over.
whatever it takes,
Intentional
Dak.
flip or no?
No, he took it in the legs now.
Yeah,
he
yeah,
tried to get
they
over.
flipped him.
Halfway through that jump,
He's
you
going,
realize,
uh-oh.
I'm in
intentional
trouble.
or
No,
unintentional. It's
Dak is a
happening.
huge dude now. That
No doubt.
hurts the defender to make
Yep.
try to tackle him.
Wentz.
Guy's big, too.
Where do
this
you
is
where do you
good.
rank this guy in terms of runners at quarterback?
Look at that.
One of the
Look,
best.
I mean, just a pure athlete. He has so much athleticism. To be able to get out of this little mix here, and this is early in the
strong
season.
he is, and that
no way that I
balance.
think he was gonna get out of it.
That contact strength right there to stay up when you've got basically guys lodging at your legs from different angles. It's remarkable.
It's a rough Monday in the defensive film room right there.
I hate to say it, but a little Eli Manning in that one. Little Eli Manning, little Super Bowl Eli
Capability,
Manning.
yeah.
Here
This
we
guy
go.
can run.
This one won
Smith.
people some fantasy weeks last year.
Look at
Just
that.
saying.
And off he goes. Go block.
He
Go
needs,
block out
Kareem
front.
Hunt needs that. Yeah, there
Yep.
you go. That's good.
Remember the offense Alex Smith ran back in college
just
under
gonna
Urban
keep on
Meyer
going.
at Utah? There was a lot of, the quarterback
why
had to be
that-
functionally mobile and athletic.
At the end, though, he's like, maybe I'll get a few more.
maybe
I'm gonna go.
I'm done.
We'll let
I'm
that-
done.
Maybe I'll throw for the rest of it.
Well, look at Cam.
Oh, man, this guy.
You know, Cam,
No, this is
62.
beautiful. Right here in the hole.
watch
This
the
one
move.
right there.
Oh.
Gave him the dead leg on that one.
But then he gets caught.
Once those strides start kicking, he doesn't have that DB speed.
He didn't get caught.
DB speed's
No,
different.
that's
there. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I know what you're talking about.
That was
He-
dangerous than
yeah.
He
Deco.
did give some dead leg right there.
Damn,
give him that-
Sandejo. Uh-oh.
Is there any quarterback that does have DB speed?
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson,
Yeah.
yes.
Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
Vic's gone.
Watson.
Watson, yeah.
Speaking of the devil, here we
He
go.
might have it.
Here's DB
Versus
speed right here.
Cincinnati
There's a couple
Bengals.
DBs that miss. This is a Thursday night game. This is the coming out party for Deshaun Watson. We all said, yep, this
Okay.
dude is the real
That's bad tackling.
deal.
Yeah, tuck
You know
that
what?
ball,
This is
though.
just bad tackling.
It is bad
I don't know how much credit I give Deshaun on this play. Look at the tackling. That's one.
Not good.
Bad
That was
angle.
Carl Lawson right there, one of the best
No,
defensive
he didn't even
rookies.
try to
That was
tackle.
that was weak.
That's terrible.
Good downfield blocking, too, though.
Yeah.
In fairness, that was one of the uglier football.
Supposed to stop Leon?
I was supposed to stop everyone from getting there, and Leon just didn't.
pretty big.
But listen, I think I've never been one of those guys that believes that a loss can make you better.
Okay.
But that loss made us better because we rallied behind Leon Lett after that.
Really?
And we won every game after that and ended up winning the Super Bowl. So, hey, it happens.
Say
Good
the
loss.
ring
It
made it all
happens.
worth it, right?
That's right.
That's
right.
Did not know that. That's great context right there.
I love it. I love it. So the Buffalo Bills. Let's talk some about the Buffalo Bills. LaShawn McCoy will be back. What does he have? About 2 years left in that contract, as they were able to extend him. So we look what they did this offseason. Tyrod Taylor gone. A.J. McCarron signed. A.J. thinks that this is his big opportunity, but a new quarterback, of course, has entered the building. You see what they did there to the offensive line, and you see Josh Allen, you see Edmonds, their 2 first-round picks. Realistically, what are the expectations for the Buffalo Bills? And does a playoff run, does it go through McCarron, or does it go through Josh Allen if they're going to get back?
Let's be honest. Let's just put it out there.
Yeah.
They went 9-7 last year, not by design. First of all, they were incredibly good in single-score games, 6-2 in games decided by 1 score or less. In the NFL, more often than not, those things tend to take care of themselves. Law averages makes you about average in close games. Beyond that, the Bills might get worse this year, sort of by design, but get better in the long term. Josh Allen's not a player that you draft to immediately go from a 9-7 team to a 10-6, 11-5, 12-4 team. Josh Allen is a project. He might not even start this season. We'll see, and NFL teams rarely withhold a first-round quarterback the full year. But Buffalo is all about the process. Their GM, Brandon Beane, their head coach, Sean McDermott, say it all the time. I like what the Bills are doing. I understand it might come with some short-term growing pains.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, the playoffs last year, it was great for them to make the playoffs last year. But I don't know that, to Fields' point, it was part of the grand plan. When you've heard of Sean McDermott talk about this, it's about establishing and changing a culture, building something long-term. You saw Eric Wood and Richie Incognito retire. They also traded Cordy Glenn. They're replacing 3 starting offensive linemen, not to be underestimated there. Receiver core a little shaky behind Kelvin Benjamin. So they're building there in Buffalo. I think the expectations for this year are a step back on their way to hopefully bigger and better things.
Yeah, the personnel, you guys are right. The personnel's not there, and New England's still going to be the beast in the East anyway.
Beast in the East is right. 6,000-yard seasons. 6th one came last year for LaShawn McCoy. Our top 10 countdown, the top 10 games from last season will continue. You may see that one. You may see that one. The top 10 games of last year will continue as we push through this week on NFL Live. And we have a little Saquon Barkley coming your way, too. Saquon and what he did during the rookie minicamps. All reports seem very positive. Seems like they got the guy that they expected, but of course, the season will tell.
Same thing I said, I want to be an athlete. I'm not just a running back, but I want to be an all-around back and an all-around player.
There were 19 rookie mini camps held over the weekend, including the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and the AFC champion Patriots. Among the others were the Cardinals, who signed Sam Bradford in the offseason and selected Josh Rosen with the 10th overall pick. Here's Wilkes on his quarterback mindset.
Could tell right now he was probably just had some little jitters early on, and you can see that, but he's so confident, and you can see that as he went on with practice. He settled down a little bit, settled in. Those were on time. The accuracy was there. Everything that we know about him, you saw later on in practice.
Regardless of starter backup, I want the Arizona Cardinals to do best possible because I want to be in a Super Bowl. And if at least for this year, that's the best way to do that is have Sam start, then so be it. But I'm gonna help him, and I'm gonna push him every single day. And likewise, I hope he would do the same thing with me.
All right, so we still talking a little bit. You heard him there. Welcome into the Verizon Film Room. Let's talk Cardinals quarterback situation a little bit, Field. Is it settled right now that Bradford will start week 1 and really the plan for the season?
Well, Jack, team intent versus how things actually play out are often two very different things. See the Chicago Bears last year. However, in terms of intent, identifying the intent, you follow the money. Sam Bradford did not get a couple $1 million to come to Arizona. He got $15 million guaranteed and $20 million maximum value to be the starter for this season. So the idea for Arizona is to go into the year with Sam Bradford as its starting quarterback. Now we know one thing that has plagued Sam throughout his career is durability and staying on the field. Now the thing that could be the biggest threat to him is a very talented young 20s quarterback in Josh Rosen. But for now, I would say that if you're looking towards week 1, expect Sam Bradford to get the nod, and we'll see just how long it takes for Josh Rosen to eventually usurp him on the depth chart.
Over with the Giants, running back Saquon Barkley got his first taste of mini camp over the weekend. Word on the street was that Barkley looked pretty good. Here is Barkley himself on how minicamp went.
I know a lot of people try to set expectations for me, but no offense to you guys, I set my own expectations. I don't care what anyone, I got to rush for this, I got to score this. It don't matter to me because I set my own expectations and I have my own standard. And if I follow you guys, I'm not saying you guys indirectly, I'm talking about the media and everyone that tries to set fans and tries to set expectations for me because I was a high draft pick. If I follow that, I will never become a great player. It starts with myself. I have to believe in myself and set expectations for myself, set goals for myself, and continue to work for those goals every single day.
Put it to you straight, the Giants need a lot of help on their offense after ranking 21st in total offense, 26th in rushing, and 30th in offensive scoring. There are 3 wins, or the fewest since 1983, and they haven't had a 1,000-yard rusher since the little name of Ahmad Bradshaw. That may ring a bell. So where is the level of pressure, Dan, on Saquon Barkley?
It's high, regardless of what he wants to say. And it's not media setting expectations. It's his own front office. And the general manager, Dave Gettleman, before the draft said, I want to use that number 2 pick. I want it to be a gold jacket player. So he's got him in the Hall of Fame already. Obviously, that's a high expectation for the young man. Look, he's supposed to be a spectacular player. We watched him play in college. He's a thrill a minute, and the Giants fell in love and were thrilled to get him. But a lot of expectations. You mentioned that Ahmad Bradshaw 1,000-yard season was 2012. So 5 straight years without a 1,000-yard rusher in New York. They need to establish a run game if they're going to have any level of offense.
The only way they win the East. Only way they win the East if they establish the run. They can't be one-dimensional. They cannot put the onus on Eli Manning to throw the ball around. This kid's going to have a big year. I mean, I know the expectations. He's done all those expectations. He's going to have a big year for this team to be successful.
Offensive line there, enough for that big year?
They made some changes. They've upgraded. So, you know, that's what Gettleman does. I think he does a great job of bringing in good offensive linemen to fortify that front. And again, to win the NFC East, you have to dominate the line of scrimmage.
Have to. We'll see if they do. We have a little more news for the Broncos. And they got a great pick there. Bradley Chubb at 5. On his way to minicamp, had that going underway, and he'll be teaming up with Von Miller. But right now, he's getting acclimated to rookie camp. And here is what Bradley Chubb and his thoughts on what that Broncos D might look like.
I'm just looking forward to getting around those guys. I mean, we watch film on all the time, and seeing the things they do. I can't wait to just get around and watch how they operate, and seeing guys who've been doing it like Von and those guys and Shaq and Shane, and seeing guys that've been doing it at a high level for so long, and seeing them actually how they work and how they prepare. I'm looking forward to that the most.
Have you met Von yet?
No, not yet. Not yet.
I mean, realistically, what is that Broncos defensive line? I mean, comparatively to the league, what is that group going to be like?
They're going to be strong. Look, he already mentioned Von Miller, who's a first ballot Hall of Famer when he gets done playing, but they still have Shane Ray as well on the outside. Now you bring in Bradley Chubb. You talk about a NASCAR package. When they want to get you in 3rd and long and individually match up and rush the passer with those 3 right there, that's what it's about. I'm sure the Denver Broncos are happy where they are as far as drafting Bradley Chubb, knowing that Von Miller is going to give you 2 guys are going to be doubled up on him, and he's going to get one-on-one opportunities. So we'll see where that goes. But the pass rush is where it's the vogue in the league right now. We saw the Eagles do it last year with their front 4 getting after guys. That's the same thing that's going to happen with the Denver Broncos. They want to get better at putting pressure at the quarterback.
You know, it's kind of a nice spot for Bradley Chubb to be in this regard. He is not going to play every single defensive snap for the Broncos next year because, first of all, they've got a lot of depth, and second of all, the best defensive fronts often rotate a healthy number of players throughout the system, throughout the game.
The Eagles.
Like the Eagles did.
Yeah.
Beyond that, he's not going to be like Josh Rosen, who might be on the bench for the first 6 weeks, and you're getting antsy if you're a fan. When are we going to see our first-round pick? He might be in that sweet spot where maybe even if he isn't a starter per se, he's still playing 60% of the snaps. He could be fresh. Something like 8 sacks, a Derek Barnett-like season. Derek Barnett, the first-round pick for the Eagles last year out of Tennessee, would be a tremendous starting point for Bradley Chubb.
And that's the beautiful thing. If you're a coach like Vance Joseph, you can identify, here's what this young man does well. And we can put him in this number of those kinds of specific situations where we believe he can do this right now while he learns the rest of it. Yeah. And we don't have to play him every snap. So that's why I think I agree with you, Field. I think he's in a great spot. I think he can pile up numbers. They're never going to double team him. No. Von Miller on the other side. So, yeah, that ended up being a real nice landing spot for Bradley Chubb.
There were some great stories, too, about DeMarcus Ware mentoring Von Miller.
Exactly.
Now it's his turn.
And Von Miller has mentioned that. He's talked about DeMarcus Ware mentoring him, and he says now it's my turn to start mentoring some of these young guys like Shane Ray.
He does. He had that pass rush summit last year. He's doing it again this year. I wonder if Bradley Chubb might wander on there. I would think so.
A heck of a pick if you're Von Miller. Coming up, we'll go back to the Bills app. So despite hitting his late 20s, last year was LeSean McCoy's 6th 1,000-yard season in the National Football League. Recently, I caught up with Buffalo's finest to see how he defines his ageless game. How are you most effectively used as a receiver?
If I'm out, right, I need to know where your help is at. So if you have a safety over there, you know, I can't go in there. You have a linebacker in there, can't go in there. So I need to just come at you, threaten you with speed, you know? Because if I'm coming at you, you know what I'm gonna do? Now I could fake you right, go left. I can fake you, slow your feet down, then go around you. There's just so many different ways I can go.
How about when the guy comes up and tries to get his hands on you?
Ooh, that's bad to do. That's a bad idea. I mean, because it's hard to put your hands on me in general. You know, if you blink, I'm gone. So you come to put your hands on you, you know what I'm saying? It's
so
like
there's a lot of this hand fight.
Yeah, because it's the shoulders is moving, heads moving, and then if I go and I get you moving one way, and then you're in trouble.
The snap and the give goes to McCoy. Cuts to the right, now at the middle. Shady on the run at the 40. Over the ball with his right hand.
Makes a tackle at the 10, at the 5, into the end zone. Touchdown!
When you're one-on-one with the defender, like, allow me to be the defender. What's going through your head?
Well, actually, the first defender, I'm always looking past him. Because in my mind, I'm thinking I'm going to make a miss. Now, sometimes I don't, but most of the time I do. So I'm kind of looking, what's the next move? You know, it's like chess. Because once he makes a move, I'm going.
Describe for me how you're able to cut.
I like kind of skip a little bit, and I stop, and I go. Because in the defense mind, he's thinking, the defender is thinking, oh, well, he's going extra fast, so let me catch him. And then next second, I'm cutting, and they're going.
Is there a player in the history of the NFL that you feel comfortable comparing your game to?
Barry Sanders, I'm a big fan.
McCoy jabs his right foot on the ground, heads left, and heads into the end zone. Touchdown, Buffalo. They give it to Sanders. There's that cutback move. Divide. This guy is electricity.
What is it about Barry's game in particular that you would try to emulate?
I mean, everything. Just the cuts, the spin moves, the stop and goes, the freezing defenders and making them look stupid. I mean, his feet work. In and out the hole, in the hole, jumping out. As a kid, I always wanted to be like him. In my room, it was full of Detroit Lions 20.
The way that you carry the football, this has almost become iconic with you. Is any of that strategic?
Well, on defense, they're taught to get the ball. So I was thinking, you know, it makes sense. Show them the ball, take the ball away. They go for the ball, I take it away, I make a miss. Like Reggie Bush in college, I mean, everybody wanted to be Reggie Bush. The ball security, maybe that's where I get it from.
But you never fumble.
Nah, not really. Watching them Reggie Bush tapes got me in a lot of trouble, man. Having the ball out, looking good, doing it. And everybody can't be him. So I kind of got that from him, and it's just stuck with me.
As a defender, how do I stop you? Is there any way? Give me the secret. How do I stop you?
You're gonna need a gang of players.
A lot of this?
That too. A lot of that, man.
You see there what McCoy has done. Over the last 3 seasons, nobody has more 100-yard games than LeSean McCoy. He's one ahead of Le'Veon Bell in that category. And we'll look now, Chuck Knox, who has the second most victories of any coach in Seahawks history, died on Sunday. Knox, who was named one of the NFL's Coach of the Year, it was 3 different times in that category. 22-year career he had. One of the most underrated coaches in football, also coached for the Bills and the LA Rams. As we take you back now for Coach Knox, he is the only head coach in the Seahawks Ring of Honor, having been inducted in 2005. He led Seattle to their first division title, playoff win, and conference championship appearance, and was the first coach in NFL history to lead 3 different teams to the playoffs. As you see what he did right there. Knox spent 22 seasons in the NFL, widely regarded as the word we use coming in, underrated. He was with the Rams, the Bills, the Seahawks, took them all to the playoffs. His 334 games ranked 9th all time, and his 186 wins are 10th among all coaches. Knox was 86 years old. Down the aisle on Saturday to receive his bachelor's degree. You gotta love.
Bravo.
You gotta love.
Absolutely.
Well done.
Jump is up next. See ya.